It's been a while since I last spoke about Bitcoin in this channel, getting caught up in all the various stocks, ETFs, dividend growth stocks, real estate, Airbnb businesses, etc. that I recently got excited about. But let's not forget about Bitcoin and other cryptos, which are seeing some kind of comeback after the heights we've seen in 2021. And that's why in this video I want to share with you some of my thoughts I have about it, show you my holdings and what I plan to do with my holding going forward, and why I'm actually quite bullish about Bitcoin for 2024. First off, let's hop over to my Ledger Live wallet so you can see my current portfolio over here. Just shy of 37k. Obviously, it has seen higher numbers in the past. When I go over here at some stage, it was close to 40k actually, but then came down a little bit. But overall, it has been doing quite well recently, remained rather stable, I would say. Now, as you can see, the majority of my holdings comes from Bitcoin, where I have now over one Bitcoin, which is always my goal, to have more than one. So that's the case now, and that's the majority of my holdings. I do have a bit of Ethereum and some Polygon, even though honestly speaking, in the future, I could see myself selling those two and putting it all into Bitcoin, but for the time being, I'm probably holding on to that. Now, I do also still have a little bit of funds sitting in my Nexo account, which is my favorite crypto exchange of choice. They have been holding up through all the turmoil in recent times. So honestly, I really love the platform. I still prefer having most of it on my cold storage to really stay safe, but at the same time, having some of it on the Nexo wallet, I, in a way, support the platform. At the same time, I'm getting staking rewards. Plus, I could use the Nexo card to get cash back on every transaction. At the moment, I'm not actually doing it. Also, sometimes I do transact in Bitcoin directly, and it's just easier doing it on the exchange rather than through the hardware Ledger wallet. But yeah, definitely a great platform. Been very happy with them. And yeah, you can see here once again, majority of that is definitely made up from Bitcoin. Now, when we look at the price development for Bitcoin, when we see that over here in terms of dollars, it is just shy of $30,000 per Bitcoin, up 21%, as you can see over here, year on year. So that's really quite a nice growth when you think about it. And yeah, we all compared where at the height it was around $64,000 per Bitcoin. So obviously then there was a big reset after we all know what happened there. And now we're slowly edging up to the 30k mark. So that's definitely good to see. So sometimes, people really get excited. Oh my God, it's the end of Bitcoin. But when you see the year over year development, and let's not forget where we came from, in 2017, it was still less than $1,000, right? So I think we have to really see the big picture with Bitcoin. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, I'm actually getting more and more bullish about Bitcoin, especially for 2024. And there are two main catalysts for that excitement in myself and many other people in the crypto space or other investors coming on to crypto in the future. Number one is Larry Fink. Now, the name may not tell you much, but actually Larry Fink is the CEO of BlackRock. And as you know, I'm actually an investor into BlackRock. Most of you who are buying ETFs most likely are buying ETFs through BlackRock and invest into the S&P 500 or global market indexes. I mean, BlackRock is an absolute global powerhouse. If they make a call or they decide something, more likely than not, it's going to happen. And one very exciting thing is that Larry Fink, who actually in the past was very much anti-Bitcoin, anti-crypto, recently, for some reason, decided to change his stand on crypto and Bitcoin in particular, and actually became a true believer, as it says over here, based on billionaire Mike Novogratz. And actually, some of his interviews, he said, Larry Fink himself was very much bullish on the future of Bitcoin. Now, the even bigger part to that story is that BlackRock is now actively pursuing to have their own spot Bitcoin ETF listed. Most likely, people say it's only 6 months away, so that might mean it will still happen in 2023. And that will mean a huge influx of institutional money into Bitcoin in particular, because a lot of institutional lenders, previously, they would not buy and hold themselves and manage Bitcoin and other cryptos. Now, with BlackRock being the biggest asset manager in the world, having that ETF option, they will be much more comfortable to invest through them into Bitcoin themselves and benefit from future price appreciations. And most likely following that, many other asset managers such as Invesco and others will follow the race to have their own spot Bitcoin ETF out there, so people feel more confident and invest through them into Bitcoin. Now, personally, I find that very much encouraging for the price development of Bitcoin, especially since in the past we had so many questionable players in the Bitcoin and crypto market out there that went bust over time. Having somebody like BlackRock, being in the space will definitely give credibility and maturity to the space, people feeling more comfortable to invest into that asset class. And the second big impetus for me to be very bullish about Bitcoin increasing in price in 2024 is the upcoming Bitcoin halving, which will happen sometime next year. Here you can see the estimated countdown 244 days to go until that happens. And what does it mean exactly? Now, basically, as it says over here, new Bitcoins are issued by the Bitcoin network. Every 10 minutes, there are new blocks added to the network. Since the beginning of Bitcoin, basically every 10 minutes, there were 50 new Bitcoins being added. And since then, every 4 years, as it shows over here, that number is cut in half. So as you can see over here, in 2012, instead of 50, it dropped down to 25. Then in 2016, it went from 25 to 12.5. And in the most recent halving in 2012, it went from 12.5 to 6.25 BTC per block. And therefore, next year, that reward will further drop from 6.25 to 3.125. That's the reward for miners who are basically solving those mathematical questions to mine those blocks. The reward for them will go down. It basically means that the supply, new blocks become increasingly more expensive. You need more computing power to produce a new block. Therefore, it becomes ever more expensive to get that block and the Bitcoin in the future because less will be produced. There has to be more work spent, etc. So it's supply versus demand. And that's why naturally over time, the price should therefore increase for Bitcoin because it becomes more valuable, similar to gold, right? If there was gold outside the door when you go down to walk your dog, you would pick up some gold and gold would be everywhere. Now, obviously, the price for gold will go down significantly, if not close to zero, because basically gold will be everywhere. But actually, gold is very limited and overall reserves available around the world is very difficult to mine. The same is true for Bitcoin, and they make it harder and harder every single year, which is great to see. Now, in this graph, you can see also very interestingly, the blue lines are all the halving, and that's always been followed by a price increase for Bitcoin thereafter. So that's really encouraging to see, and that's why I said for 24, I could expect the same. It doesn't necessarily have to follow immediately, but long term, because the rewards are less, there's less supply, I do believe that will happen. You can see here, for example, the first halving in 2012. The price went from $12.35 at the time of halving to 150 days later, basically half a year, to 127. So that's a huge increase over time. So not immediately after, but a couple of months down the road. Then in 2016, the price at the halving time was $6.50, and half a year later, it went to $7.58. So not such a massive increase, but still, it definitely went up. Same in 2020. Obviously, it was at $8,800, and then half a year later, it went to almost $11,000. So once again, in percentage term, maybe not a massive growth, but still, that's almost a 25% within 6 months, which honestly, I'll be very happy to take. As you might know, there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins in circulation ever. There won't be any more after that. And all 21 million Bitcoins will be mined by the year 2140. By which time, if I'm happy to still be around, I do hope that my dividend income will pay for my Ferrari. So keeping those two things in mind, obviously now a lot of people go back to the target we had already 2 years ago of Bitcoin hitting $100,000 by the end of 2024. Now, once again, analysts make predictions all day long. Some say it will go to zero. Some others say it will go to 1 million. The truth will come out eventually. But honestly, knowing what I've just shown you right now, I don't know if it will be 100,000, maybe a little bit less, but I'm quite confident that definitely will be higher than what it is today. We've seen that after every halving an increase. And now with BlackRock putting real muscle power and intention behind it, now it may be approved in the next 6 months or not. But once they made a public statement, I'm really confident that they keep on reapplying for it. They're going to make it happen. And just them believing into crypto, not talking it down, but really being behind it and pushing it forward. Bitcoin, obviously, in particular. And most of it, what I'm talking about, is referring to Bitcoin because other cryptos, even Ethereum's, might be treated a little bit different. So for now, we really talk about Bitcoin. That's why I said also, I'm really holding on to my Bitcoin holding and potentially might even sell some of my Ethereum and put it into Bitcoin. Yes, it's probably the most conservative of all crypto there, but I would also consider myself a conservative investor. It goes without saying, none of this is investment advice. This is just my own personal opinion. And I'm very excited to hear from you. What do you think about Bitcoin? Will it go up to 100,000 or more? Or will it actually collapse, be banned, and be worth nothing in the near future? Next up, I recommend you to check out this video over here. If you enjoyed this one, please give a like, subscribe to the channel. It means the world to me. As always, guys, stay healthy, get wealthy, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.